You've just found the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Here, you'll discover the people and places that make Montana like no other place in the world. If you love to fish, hunt, or just enjoy creating your own adventure in the outdoors, you have come to the right place. The Montana Outdoor Podcast is brought to you by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go to rmtte.com and see everything they have waiting for you online, or just come by 5680 Expressway in Missoula, and by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, delivering the highest quality lumber, paneling, flooring, and reclaimed wood products anywhere in North America. Let them guide you through the woods at their showroom in Missoula on Highway 93 South or at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, let's go discover Montana's great outdoors with your host, Downrigger Dale. Have a great show, buddy. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you very much, Roger. And as Roger just said, I am Downrigger Dale with the Montana Outdoor Podcast. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. We got more previews of what hunting is going to be like around the great state of Montana. Before I get into our next region, which will be Region 4, going to take care of a little business here before we start. Number one, I want to thank all the active military out there that watch and listen to this podcast. As I always say, we are very honored that those of you serving right now all around the world in bases all over the place, watch this podcast and listen to it. That is a big honor for us. We really appreciate all you do for our country and keeping us safe and other countries around the world safe. So thank you very much for your service. Speaking of that, I also want to thank all of our veterans around the great state of Montana and around the country for your service as well. Montana has a lot of veterans, and we really appreciate what you've done for our country too. So thank you very much. Also, for those of you that maybe have not done so yet, it would really help us a lot to like and share and subscribe to the podcast. I got an email the other day said, well, yeah, I'd be happy to subscribe, but how much does it cost? It doesn't cost anything. You just click the subscribe button. That's all it is. And then you get notified. You can even turn those notifications off, but it does help us as far as YouTube and other channels go. And we are on, if you like to listen in your car or all that, you can download the audio version, and there's audio versions to everything from Spotify to you name it, probably 40 different sites now. You can get links to any of that also on our website, montanooutdoor.com. So you can do that. Now, I think that takes care of all the busy work we needed to get done. Now let's get down to what everybody's tuning in for, and that is to find out what's going on in Region 4, or at least what the hunting might be like in Region 4. Corey Lecker's with me. There's Corey there. He's popped up on your screen for you. Corey, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for doing this. I know this is a busy time of the year, so I appreciate you squeezing us in.
No problem. Year 2.
Yeah.
Year 2 of the podcast.
Year 2 for us here as we continue this on. So, Corey, as you know, we're covering all 7 regions across the great state. And of course, Region 4 is one of them. So want to give people an idea of what the hunting will be like this year. But before we get into that, since we have grown so much in audience, there's a lot of people watching. Of course, this is the first year we've done video podcasts. We've been doing it for a few years by audio only, but anyway, a lot of new people that are listening, so it'd be great if they could get to know you too. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from originally, how you got into the whole outdoor business and working with FWP.
Sure. Yeah, I moved to Montana the winter of 2002. Started with Fish, Life, and Parks as an area wildlife biologist here in Great Falls, covering basically the central part of our region. I was an area biologist here in Great Falls for about 17 years, and then became wildlife manager about 7 years ago now. Came here from the Nebraska, South Dakota boundary waters, the Missouri River country. Went to school at University of Nebraska, came out here after about 5 years of working in Nebraska and Wyoming in the wildlife program. A little smaller scale than here, but some things a lot of similarities too. Always wanted to move west, hunted west growing up and through college, and just applied more and more in the West, and job opening came up here, and was lucky enough to get the job and moved out here and have been with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks ever since.
Well, we appreciate all you do for us hunters all across the state, and especially in Region 4. Give us an idea of what Region 4 is like, especially for those that have never hunted there before, as far as its size, where it's located, private land, public land, that sort of stuff.
Sure. It's Region 4 is one of the 7 regions for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. As you mentioned, there's 7 regions. Region 4 is north central Montana, so it's probably the most diverse region because our eastern boundary is basically the Musselshell River as it heads north, and then our northern boundary is Canada, and then west to the Continental Divide, and south White Sulphur, south of Martinsdale, down that way. So it's a really big region. It's about 12 and a half counties, probably a little more than 20% of Montana. So it's pretty big, about 19 million acres in the region. So lots of diversity. As mentioned, you could be in the eastern part where it's the Missouri Breaks, Arrow Creek Breaks country. And then as you move west and south, you get into the more isolated mountain ranges like the Little Belt Complex, the Big Belt Complex, the Snowies, the Judas, the Moccasin, Sweetgrass Hills, High Woods, and heading west to the Rocky Mountain Front, and into the Bob Marshall Wilderness. So it's real diverse.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of gives you if you traveled all the way across Region 4, you would get a taste of pretty much everything Montana has to offer. It really is something. And of course, the legendary Bob Marshall Wilderness. My dad used to go up in that area all the time, and so as a kid, I always was waiting for him to come back to see either what he might bring back or how injured he got.
Yeah, you never know.
He and his buddies would pack up there, and somebody was always getting thrown off their horse or whatever. But anyway,
sure. One constant is the wind, though.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter where you go, which part of the region, it's going to be windy.
Yeah. Well, and if anyone's driven through Great Falls, which I do all the time, I'm traveling all over the state of Montana, and I always know I'm hitting Great Falls because it's windy. So, Corey, as far as the public and private access goes, can you give us an idea of how much, as far as the percentage of Region 4 has public access and how much has private access?
Sure. As you mentioned, as the western part of the region is a lot of public land with the Bob Marshall Wilderness and Rocky Mountain Front. And some of our mountain ranges have a lot of public land, but we also have a lot of private land outside of those mountain ranges as they go to lower elevations. And surrounding the isolated mountain ranges is almost all private. Probably about, I'd say 25% of the region is public land, and 75% is private. Similar to the statewide, I think it's 65 and 35 statewide. Mm-hmm. And so, we rely a lot on private landowners for access opportunities for hunting and recreation in our region, and really diverse on that too. So we have about, let's see here, 160 block management access contracts with 260 cooperators, and that's about 1.275 million acres.
Wow.
So we really rely on private land access in our region for hunters, and fishing too.
Well, it sounds like the landowners are really good to you guys then, participating a lot, huh?
Yeah, and our Upland Game Bird program is pretty active too. We have 133 contracts with those, and it has about another 67,000 acres of access through that program too. So we try to at least offer those programs for landowners. Some choose to participate, some don't, of course. but yeah, it's and that's another thing with the diversity is there's larger blocks of public land, but as you head east um, through the central part of Region 4, there's a lot of scattered parcels that are pretty tough to get to, if not inaccessible. So try to provide programs to get access to those parcels or the larger blocks,
Mhm.
and then work with the BLM and DNRC and the Forest Service and try to get access to those parcels as much as we can.
Yeah.
They're obviously real important for hunters in our region.
Yeah, without a doubt. And any of you landowners that are watching, thank you very much. If you participate, we really do appreciate it. Also, in the podcast description, there on YouTube or on any of the places you go to get the podcast, I put a link in there for you for block management for Region 4. So you'll be able to click on that, and that'll get you started in kind of figuring out where you're going and that. Is
There might
Go ahead.
I might add just one more thing too. As far as the department-owned land, we do have 9 wildlife management areas in our region, which is owned by Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, purchased mostly through hunting license dollars over the years.
Mhm.
So those 9 WMAs also provide access for hunters and recreation, and that totals about 110,000 acres too.
Wow. Yeah. And those are excellent spots to check out as well. As far as the species that get harvested there, have you guys ever done any kind of data as far as what is the most harvested animal in Region 4?
Yeah, we keep track of that stuff too, and
Mm-hmm.
there's opportunities. That's what's pretty neat. I think any species that's available in Montana, you can actually hunt it in Region 4.
Yeah.
But what's available and what's harvested is 2 different things.
Right.
But our deer harvest traditionally, we have both mule deer and whitetails. But historically, it's really pretty close to 50-50 as far as whitetails harvested and mule deer harvested.
Mhm.
And that kind of goes in cycles as the populations go up and down. But we harvest about just over 9,000 of each whitetail and mule deer, and that's bucks and does total.
Mhm.
A lot less on the mule deer antler list the last 10 years. But that really has been fairly consistent over time. Whitetails have really expanded, as you know, the last probably 30 years in a lot of the state, and including here. Elk, we harvest about 5,500 elk in the region. Still behind Region 3, but I think we're second in the state now in harvesting elk. And antelopes, 1,500 to 2,000 probably
Mhm.
total per year, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
As far as game animals, yeah.
Yeah, so that gives you folks a pretty good idea of I mean, what you can do in Region 4, which the easiest word to use there is everything. um, and speaking of harvesting, one of the things that I also put in the podcast description is the 2025 hunting forecast for Region 4. The FWP put that out a while back, and it's some pretty good information, I think, and something you might want to take a look at. It's real easy. It's in a PDF form. You can download it real simply, or just keep the digital form and look at it. Plus, there is also one for Upland game bird that covers the whole state. So take a look at that in the podcast description. Let's talk a bit about elk. We'll start there. That elk seems to get the majority of the press. A lot of people love to talk about finding that big bull and all that. How do you feel that your elk herds are looking for Region 4? And maybe talk a bit about as far as where we might find some of those elk, especially the big bulls.
So yeah, that's the
Everybody
big
wants
question, right? Where can I find a big bull
Yeah.
and find it now?
Do you have him tied up right over there
Right.
for me? Yeah.
Right. We had a couple questions in there as far as overall elk numbers in the region continue to do very well.
Mhm.
Most districts continue to slowly increase, and it kind of just depends on where you're at. The western part of the region, you're talking wilderness, Rocky Mountain front. The elk numbers there are still real stable.
Mhm.
We winter 2,500 elk on Sun River, and 800 in the Blackleaf country, and another 1,000 or so as you head south towards the Dearborn. those migrate out of some of region 1 and some of region 2. You could find a big bull in there somewhere. But those numbers are a lot more stable. Whereas as you move out to the east into more private land foothills, and a lot more security for some of these elk. The migratory herds traditionally have a lot less calf production and recruitment than you do as you head towards, say, Lewistown and the Snowies, where you're not talking grizzly bears or huge migrations. You're talking more, the migration may stay on one ranch. So they don't have the severe winter traveling that occurs with some of these migratory herds. So these isolated mountain ranges that have private foothills, those really can climb fast. And the numbers anyway. But there's ample opportunity to harvest bulls and cows in the region.
Yeah.
We have general. It's really diverse in that too. Whereas we have general hunting districts like the Little Belt Complex and the Big Belt Complex and the Rocky Mountain Front backcountry units. And then you start moving easterly towards the breaks in these isolated mountain ranges where the herds maybe aren't as big, where the bulls are more managed for older age class bulls. Like we work with region 7 and region 6 in the Missouri breaks elk herd.
Mm-hmm.
And there's those are limited draw for bulls, sometimes for archery and rifle or both. And then sometimes it's a mix of a general season for archery and a limited draw for rifle. So it really varies, and you really have to pay attention to your regulations. But as far as big bulls, obviously the limited entry is where people want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it just really depends on the security, depends on the private land security for some of these bulls. But you could find what your definition of big is.
Yeah.
But older bulls can show up pretty much anywhere anymore.
Yeah, with me being an old timer, anything with antlers that's pretty easy to get to is big enough for me.
Sure, that's right. That's right. The bigger they are, the more they weigh too.
Yeah, exactly.
We have some real liberal cow hunting or antlerless hunting opportunities in a lot of our districts. I mean, if you play the game right, you can shoot 3 cows a year.
Yeah.
And we still can't maintain some of our herds. It's just getting access to them is really hard. And I think hunting opportunity, not many people want to shoot more than one elk. They're a lot of work.
Yeah.
One's sometimes enough. So yeah, it's real diverse in the bull hunting opportunities across the region too.
Yeah. And yeah, be sure and take a look at, harvesting cows too. They're nothing worse than ending up with tag soup for the season. So sometimes those shoulder seasons can be great opportunities. I did a podcast a while back with Brian Wakeling about shoulder seasons, and he gave some pretty good advice about how to take advantage of those. And so those are decent opportunities. Just got to be careful as you get into late season. Some of that weather can get you.
Yep.
Hunting in January.
Yeah, it's really
it's pretty tough.
The shoulder seasons have really gave landowners an opportunity to select hunters that are maybe closer to where their ranch is or know their ranch. Some hunters are maybe fair weather hunters that want to hunt in August if that's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Some hunters really like that January, February cold, nasty cow hunting, and everything in between.
Has there been any main regulation changes for elk in Region 4 that folks might want to be sure and watch out for?
For this year, no. As next year, a year from right now, will be seasons. We're going through the season setting process right now for in November and December for the 26 and 27 season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you'll definitely could see some structure changes.
Okay.
But as far as elk goes for this current season, it's the same as last year. There may be some license changes a little bit up or down, but as far as the structure, it's still the same.
Okay. Well, good.
Yep.
Good. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, I want to talk about mule deer and see how Region 4 is faring in the areas of mule deer hunting. If you've been listening to a lot of these different reports about the preview for hunting season in the different regions, some of our regions have been having a tough time with mule deer, and others have kind of fared a little better. So we'll find out what Region 4 is doing right after this. Are you going to get out hunting or to your favorite ice fishing hole this year? Yeah, I know. Finding the time is always the hard part, isn't it? Well, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can help you get the things done that you have to do, have time to do the things you want to do. How about clearing the driveway or work areas of snow? Yeah, that can be a time sucker for sure. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has just what you need. A huge selection of Boss snowplows and accessories that'll fit any truck or ATV even. Boss snowplows are flat amazing at removing snow fast. Or how about something that can serve you at both work and on your next adventure outdoors? Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has awesome Diamond C utility trailers and accessories that can haul work equipment during the week and then your ATV or snowmobile or other awesome outdoor toys on the weekend. Of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer also has an amazing service department with top technicians and parts pros that are ready to fix or replace whatever you need, from installing a new fifth wheel or gooseneck hitch, or even rewiring the lights on your trailer so they work the way they're supposed to. What about getting some other time-saving accessories for your truck installed? That, my friends, is for sure one of their specialties. And get this, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can even help with financing. Yeah, they've got you covered. This is going to be a great fall and winter season, my friends, especially if you go see Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They're in Missoula at 5680 Expressway. You can call them at 406-549-4243 or check them out online at rmtte.com. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, rmtte.com. Get a hold of them today and then start planning that hunting trip. Back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, I am with Corey Lecker. He is the wildlife manager for Region 4. We got a good picture of what elk are doing in Region 4 and some of the areas you might want to check out. Let's talk mule deer. How are the muleys looking for Region 4, Corey?
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned Dale. That's been the talk of the town for the last few years, across the state and really across the West. Mule deer Region 4 is probably similar to what you hear in a lot of places, due to some winters in 21 and then droughts 3 and even 4 years in a row since. Just still struggling in some places, with especially Missouri Breaks country. I'd say east of Great Falls, just the drought really taking a toll on poor fawn numbers, poor recruitment. And that winter of 21 we had was really tough. Tough on a lot of deer, but we do have places where deer numbers are doing pretty darn well, like the north side of Little Belts, private land foothills, some of the Rocky Mountain front still real stable. So it really varies, but we really, a lot of our districts, we cut down on mule deer B licenses, 15 years ago already, and went to buck only on your A license quite some time ago. Mm-hmm. So really, it's just Mother Nature putting on subsequent years in a row to help us out. And some districts are starting to trickle up with fawn numbers, with good, a mild winter this year, some decent moisture last year. Mm-hmm. But this summer, the breaks had some pretty good moisture, but we have the South Rocky Mountain front and then north all the way to Canada, some places that were just, under 10 inches of moisture for the year again.
Yeah. And
more like 6 or 7. So it really varies. But like I said, we have very few B licenses, if any, in places. So we just really need Mother Nature to help us out.
It seems like what really starts that CWD thing going is these bad droughts and things like that. It seems like maybe that's what gets the immune system weak, and then that sets in. It's just my guess, but it seems like when you look at it, wherever CWD gets a foothold, prior to that getting a foothold was really bad, recruitment years because of weather. Have you noticed that for Region 4?
It could be part of it. The other thing that droughts do is really concentrate deer. And so
Oh,
you
that's
could,
true. Yeah, yeah.
so when you're talking EH, you probably heard about EHD and blue
Yep.
tongue outbreak that we had in much of the state. We had some of that here too, and a lot of that is tied to droughts occurring, concentrating animals along the river systems or creeks or ponds, reservoirs, and that can really take off from deer to deer. CWD, we ours mainly came down from Canada and maybe a little from Region 6 in northern part of Region 4, where most of our positives come from in both mule deer and whitetails. And we've had a season structure in place for quite some time to try to address some of that. So we have one district that's a little over 5%. We try to stay under 5% prevalence, where we ratcheted up the later, the last 2 weeks of the season buck permits on those. We've had some east of town, east of Great Falls, and in Great Falls in hunting district 405. Some CWD show up the last 3 years. And then a few deer over by Geraldine. But we're nothing like Region 1 or Region 6, is it?
Yeah.
And even parts of Region 3. We're still low on prevalence. I think, knock on wood for now. And but one of the saving graces I think there is in northern part of Region 4 here, we don't really have the migrations coming out of Canada like Region 6. We maybe have a little of that, but nothing like they have. And they have really high prevalence across the border in Canada from Region 6. And we don't quite have that here.
Well, you damn Canadians, for crying out loud.
You blame we blame pretty much everything on Canada too, from the smoke in the summer to whatever it is,
Is there a particular group of districts you could say that to find mule deer would be in Region 4?
I'd say, the toughest place for us to find mule deer would be like the mountainous country of the big belts and little belts and snowies. They just don't have the deer numbers in the higher elevations. Rocky Mountain front's still okay. Lower elevations is obviously a little better. You get into ag communities of these intermountain foothills, and it's still pretty good.
Okay.
We have districts east of Great Falls, Belt and Highwood are still really good. We offer, I think, 400 B licenses in that district. Still put out a lot of deer. And we're still harvesting, like I said, about the same number as whitetails as far as total deer. So you can find them anywhere in the region. But I think, like others mentioned probably as well, the higher elevation mule deer is still real struggling.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about whitetails then too. Tell us about whitetails in Region 4 and how they're faring and how you think hunters will do there.
Sure. I think, we did have some EHD go through in a lot of the region, but the main part was around Fort Benton and Loma on the Teton, Marias, and Missouri. Probably knocked the deer back there a little bit. But our big EHD outbreak was 2011 or 12, if I remember right. And that really put a damper on deer. But they really come back since then. We offer a Region 4B license that's over the counter for everybody. And then we also offer another, I think, 2,500 through the drawing. And then some of those go surplus to really concentrate hunters on the deer where the deer numbers are high, mainly on the, Sun River, our river corridors. But you're still finding whitetails in the brushy foothills anywhere in the region. I think maybe a little bit of winter around Lewistown last year slowed them down a little bit. But the other thing that happens when we do have EHD outbreaks and whitetails, kind of get reduced back is the habitat conditions really improve following that because there's a lot less deer, less mouse to feed, and then they really take off again. So whitetails are really adaptable, as you've probably heard, from living in town to living at 9,000 feet anymore in the mountains and everywhere in between.
Yeah, I've always said that, especially around golf courses and that, if you were allowed to take your rifle and put it in your golf bag, you'd probably do pretty well for whitetail.
It's pretty amazing where they can live.
They're pretty big golf fans, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that gives us a good idea of what whitetail are like. Let's talk black bear. That's one that seems like a lot of districts. It's if people want to harvest a black bear, they get a tag and put it in their pocket. Then they tend to harvest a black bear when they're out hunting for something else. It's kind of an opportunity type
Yep.
of critter. Is that the way it is in Region 4? How
Yep.
is your black bear population, and is that a good spot to go try to find a black bear to harvest in the fall?
Sure. Yeah. You usually, when you're talking fall season, obviously it's more incidental to
Mhm.
just deer and elk hunting. But I tell you, since COVID came, we have the license sales across the state and participation from bear hunting. The popularity has just skyrocketed. Yeah, we're harvesting almost twice as many bears as we used to. Usually it's about 100, 125 bears pre-COVID. Now we're over 200 bears in our region. It's nothing like Western Montana, but we are getting a lot of bear hunting. And the addition when we shouldn't say legislature and our commission gives us some seasons too, but we added the hound hunting
Right. Yeah.
a couple sessions ago. So that's really brought out another group of folks, an opportunity chasing bears and harvesting bears. And typically that's your mountain ranges, lots on public land. For us, they have to go mainly towards the east side of east side of Big Belts, and then the Little Belt Complex and Snowies because of grizzly bear.
Yeah.
They can't chase bears in grizzly bear range.
Right.
So that really has put a lot more added pressure on top of the COVID hunters that have come out. So we have our non-resident harvest of bears is probably, I'm just pulling this out, but I'd say 35% of our bears harvested are non-residents. So it's really become popular in the last 5-6 years, bear hunting in general.
I wonder why it started to become popular during COVID. What have you ever?
I think it's because people were off work, and it really exposed people to going outside and going outdoors, and it's okay to recreate, and springtime's an opportunity to get out and see some country and get out of the house, and it all kind of fell in the same time.
Yeah. I know, like the state parks just exploded during COVID. My God, you couldn't get a campground anywhere. People were like living in them,
And then at the same time, social media has really added to that of the bear hunting opportunity across the country. And it's kind of, everything everybody thinks about deer and elk and like look at antelope in general, the number of applications that really have gone up. It's just something I think was more of a niche that, hunters, you had to be an antelope hunter or a bear hunter. Now it's just another added opportunity. Expand your season to another spring season.
Sure.
On top of your fall season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's as far as the grizzlies though, if you are going to, get after black bear, what are some of the areas in Region 4 where people ought to really be watching out for grizzlies? Because the grizzly population across the state has just exploded, it seems like. We're seeing grizzlies where you would never see them before.
Yeah, they've definitely expanded. I would say our black bear hunters on the Rocky Mountain front have stayed the same. That you don't come to Region 4 to go black bear hunting on the front, just because you will likely see way more grizzly bears than black bears,
right?
Especially in the spring. But so though it's not a destination, but the bear harvest has stayed pretty much the same over there as far as black bears. But the Rocky Mountain front, definitely above and beyond is your grizzly bear centric. And then the foothills out east, here down to the interstate, it can be grizzly bears anywhere, including Sweetgrass Hills. And then as you go down south in the region, the Big Belt Complex is becoming more and more grizzly bear observations, especially the last 5 years, has really come up down the Dearborn drainage into Wolf Creek, Craig, Cascade, across towards White Sulphur, more and more and more. We do have a lot of black bear hunting in that country though too. in the Little Belt complex. I just think, it's 5 years from now, we'll be saying the same thing in the Smith River, and into the Little Belts more. It's just more common to see grizzly bears showing up. Yeah.
Have you seen this year with archery guys or anybody else as far as encounters with grizzlies in Region 4 yet this year?
Our bear crew, incidentally, you hear maybe a hunter sees bears, but that's different than getting, say, bluff charged by a bear. And typically that's when a bear's on a carcass, or you accidentally run into one, you scare them, they scare you.
Yeah.
Haven't heard too much of that. Our conflicts this year at grizzly bears, early in the spring was quite pretty high for conflicts on livestock, but through the summer and early fall, it's been great as far as no conflicts. Good. I shouldn't say none, but related to livestock was very minimal because we had a bumper crop of berries this year. So that's really sucked the black bears and grizzly bears into that country. We're getting a lot of grizzly bears in trouble with grain bins and grain spills right now after harvest.
It's interesting. Those dang things will go after all kinds of things they love to eat. Even one of the things I was talking to one of the bear experts in Region 2, and he was talking about, you mow your grass. If you mow it up where in grizzly country, they smell that, they want to come to the grass. They just
that's pretty amazing. You think of a grain bin spill or a chickpea field, or it's pretty amazing. They're really like I don't know if you want to say it's bad or good, but I think they're like a glorified raccoon at times. They'll get into anything.
Yeah, they do.
True omnivore,
a giant raccoon. Yeah. One of the things that people I think might find interesting, we alluded to it a little bit earlier, but in Region 4, you and your staff manage pretty much there's 10 main big game animals. You can find all 10 in Region 4. We've talked about 5 of them so far. What are some of the other big game species that we would find in Region 4 that we haven't talked about yet?
We did. I guess you didn't talk about antelope too much. Other than that season's in full swing right now. Moose hunting, we have, I think, 4 moose districts or 5 moose districts with a few license opportunities. Our moose are doing pretty well. Into the highwoods, for example, is a new moose opportunity the last 6, 7, 8 years. Those numbers keep climbing up. Little Belts moose are doing good. Big Belts moose are hanging on pretty good. In the Sweetgrass Hills and east into the prairie country, the moose are doing pretty good. We have a new moose district in the Dearborn country a couple years ago. Moose are doing pretty good. We have a couple mountain goat districts still open with a license or 2. They're still struggling in a lot of places. Our mountain goats are.
Okay.
As in other parts of the state, but we do have some mountain goat opportunities. And even if a district is closed, doesn't mean there's not mountain goats there. It's just you have to have a certain number of goats to have a license opportunity. Typically, it's got to be 60, 70 goats before you can have a license.
And those are all special permit stuff, right?
Yeah, all limited entry, special draw for moose, sheep, and goat. Bighorn sheep, our sheep are doing pretty good. Everybody hears about the Missouri Breaks sheep. And those numbers were down some, but we're still in objective range for bighorn sheep in 482. Rocky Mountain sheep, front sheep are doing good. They're slowly coming back from a die-off 10 years ago or 12, 15 years ago now. Sheep are doing good. Moose, sheep, goat, bear. We don't have a grizzly bear opportunity, but someday maybe.
Yeah. Yep. It would be nice to maybe be able to manage those a little more closer to home for sure.
Mountain lion hunting opportunity. It's real good in the region too.
As far as the sheep go, do you have any of those unlimited sheep areas like
we do not?
Five does?
No. Oh, okay. No, we don't have one of those in our region. No.
That's kind of a cool thing. We were talking about that with Region 5. It was interesting to hear about that. Let's talk about pronghorn. We hadn't hit that yet. How are your pronghorn numbers looking? And that I know way east in region 6 and 7, they really exploded this year. They had a lot of pronghorn come back. What about region
Yeah,
4?
they did. Yeah, they had a heck of a mild winter and some good last year. Some moisture, I think, put them through the winter well and came out of the winter really good. And antelope in our region, the eastern part of the region, are still pretty low compared to historical. But other parts are doing really well. The north side of Little Belt, Stanford, Geyser, that country's doing real well. High Woods. And then as you move west, they're just stable.
Mhm.
White Sulphur country, that winter we had 21, 23, really knocked them down. I mean, like less than half what we had, 25% even some spots. So they're still struggling to come back. In those districts, it takes a little longer to come back than like eastern Montana, where an antelope, when things are good, they can have 2 and 3 fawns and they come back real fast. But when you start talking a higher elevation, more of a mountain foothill country like White Sulphur, Ringling, Martinsdale, it's going to take them a little longer to come back.
Mhm.
But yeah, we upped our licenses in probably 6 or 8 districts this year for this current year. So
Okay.
they're coming back. Yep.
Well, that's
Yep.
good news. Yeah. This year's supposed to be a La Nina year, which means a lot more moisture. How do you think that's going to go? Of course, depends on just how much that moisture is. If we got like super deep snow and that, it can
Right.
go back and reverse on some of these critters. But
Right.
if we have a big increase in moisture this winter, do you think that's going to fare well? And which critters will benefit the most from that, you think?
Sure. Yeah, I think it depends on, it's a double-edged sword, right? You
Yeah.
want some moisture, but you don't want 10 feet of snow.
Right.
We were just talking about that with fisheries here a little bit ago about our reservoirs on the Rocky Mountain front are like, historical low.
Yeah.
The Dearborn River was already at 50-year low in June. So we need some really good snowpack for our reservoir systems and for fisheries. And big snowpack in the mountains also makes animals migrate out. So it's can be tough on wildlife, but good for fisheries.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want.
Right.
But we have had some spots this fall though with some pretty good moisture right now, and get some good fall green up, so good nutrition going into the winter. And then animals are obviously tougher than we are.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for us is when you start talking March and April, and an animal is getting through the winter, we have so much wind that really helps us here. For our winter ranges, for especially elk and mule deer and even antelope, where if we get a really good dump of snow, it usually blows to eastern Montana in 2 days.
Mhm. Yeah.
It fills the coulees. But what really happens is when you get that big deep snow in March and April, when those fawns are trying to come out,
Mhm.
and they've already started winter. Some years we will have, usually the end of September, some really big dumps of snow. So they're going through winter from September, October, November, December, January. Then they hit February, March, April. That's almost an 8-month winter at times for some of these critters.
Yeah.
And that's when you really see they're on the tail end of the winter trying to make it through. And then that's when you really start seeing the fawns that were, they'll put out some fawns in the summer. By the time they get to March and April, and it really just knocks them out.
Hmm.
When you get that's what happened in 21. We had 50 inches of snow in February, and the average temperature was 0 in Great Falls, and the wind didn't blow, and that never happens for us.
Yeah.
So that's what really hammers our fawns.
Yeah. And that's a disaster for those little things.
So then what happens also subsequently is then your doe going into fawning in April and May, she then is in not good shape. Maybe even aborts that fawn or produces a weak fawn.
Right.
And then that's how we have our subsequent years of low fawn production and recruitment in a row. So yeah, it's it's double-edged sword, but we definitely need some fall moisture in some places in our region too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we'll see where it goes to. We're going to take one last quick break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit about upland game birds and waterfowl.
Sure.
We'll do that right after this. I want to take a minute to thank Superior Hardwoods of Montana for their support of this podcast. It is what allows us to bring you the latest from Montana's great outdoors, with very few interruptions, by the way. That said, there is another reason we are lucky to have Superior Hardwoods of Montana on board. They are an amazing business that can offer all of you some of the most incredible wood products you have ever seen. Plus, Superior Hardwoods of Montana is still a place that actually cares about and appreciates their customers, the same way we appreciate you, our viewers and listeners. They offer you something original and totally unique, like their 11 acres of wood wall paneling, flooring, trim, beams, slabs, well, you name it. Every single piece has a story behind it. Wood from old barns, historic homesteads, even historic factories. And that amazing wood can be part of your story too. Right there in your home can be a piece of American history, brought back to life, custom milled and refinished to your specifications. So it not only tells its original story, but also speaks to who you are and how special your home is. Superior Hardwoods also has exotic woods, live edge slabs, pre-finished and unfinished flooring too, all in stock and ready to go. Need help picking out the right material? Just ask. Their team has been doing this since 1977. They know how to guide you through the woods. Swing into their beautiful showroom at 5120 Highway 93 South in Missoula, or you can just check them out online at superior-hardwoods.com. That's Superior Hardwoods of Montana, local, knowledgeable, family run, and ready to help you build something that lasts. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Go see him. Back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, Corey Lecker is my guest wildlife manager of Region 4, a really great region. Of course, all of them. Montana is just a special place, but Region 4 just pretty amazing because it's everything. And in decent numbers of everything, it seems like. How about for upland game bird? Let's start there. What is that looking like for you? Have you heard from hunters lately? How are they doing?
Sure. Yeah, and you mentioned the diversity. It's not really a destination compared to maybe Western Montana, but our mountain grouse hunting opportunity is really good. Blue grouse and rough grouse, doing really good. Hunters having really good success. A lot of that's on public land and some private lands. But we had some really good numbers coming into spring since last winter. Sharp-tailed grouse lek numbers were really good this spring. Pheasant crow counts were up in much of the region. And we had a really good sharp-tail year last year and hun year, coming out of that dip we had in 21, 22. But it seems like it just depends on where you're at in the region. But hunters are reporting this year of, even though we were setting up to be really good, we had some really cold rains that end of May and first 10 days of June, where it was about 40 to 50 degrees and rained, which is horrible on the hatch.
Yeah.
So we're hearing places, and we had some quite a big, extensive hail events in the summer, in some of that Geraldine, Denton country and parts towards Lewistown, Hobson, Utica. So we're hearing from some hunters, there's places in the region where, not many young birds being harvested, just adult birds.
Mm-hmm.
But there are places where our huns are doing really well, and sharp-tails are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Sage grouse numbers are still, not bad. Could be better, of course, but yeah, it's pretty good year. I'd say overall. You might have to. It just varies, The habitat conditions are pretty good in the region, especially go east, north towards Conrad, and the foothills maybe on the front are pretty tough conditions for habitat just because of the drought this spring.
Is Lewistown, is that still a pretty good spot for pheasants? I know before I've heard it referred to often as one of the pheasant capitals of the world, but what what do you?
But people used to say that about Conrad, I thought, and I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah,
um, yeah, Lewistown can be really good for pheasants. And again, it's tied to the ag ground, in the riparian habitats around the ag ground and
mhm.
the edge effects around those ag communities. Yeah, yep. Same thing with Huns there too. It's pretty good. Yep. The toughest thing is going to be the access,
Right.
because a lot of that ag ground is going to be in private land.
Yeah, a lot of it's who you know and getting to know them.
Yep.
What about waterfowl? What's that looking like for you guys?
Sure. Well, for one of our WMAs, wildlife management areas, is Freeze Out Lake
Yeah,
here by Fairfield,
amazing
which is,
place. Yeah,
yeah, it's been due to the drought last year, this year, actually the last 3 years. The water levels are non-existent even in some of the spots
Mm,
on the WMA. So migration of swans, it'll be interesting this year how that shows up. But the waterfowl population coming through just depends on the migration. Like last year, a lot of birds didn't even come out of Canada till late. But when they do, our Marias River system around Tiber can be really good. Lake Francis and around that reservoir can be really good. Freeze out, and our wetland complexes are probably going to be pretty tough just because of the drought.
yeah,
Along the High Line and then down the Rocky Mountain front. It'll be pretty tough for waterfowl hunters. There may be some water, but it's going to be shoreline away from the vegetation out hundreds of yards. So it's going to have to hide yourself. The river systems, Missouri, is always pretty good with the ag, especially the ag component along the Missouri River. Basically, Loma down to Craig can be really good. More and more waterfowl hunters showing up from out of state too, showing up to hunt. Some of the sleeper spots, I think, like you mentioned, Lewistown, especially the Canada goose hunting opportunity. It's kind of if you really wanted to hunt geese, you could hunt them anywhere in the region.
hmm
They're just showing up more and more everywhere. But yeah, the duck production and stuff was pretty low this year. We obviously we're not a huge duck producer right here. Versus you get into the prairie grasslands and the potholes of the High Line East into Region 6. We rely a lot on the migration can. So what a lot of times will happen for us is in our wetlands is about Halloween, we start getting a big push coming from North Canada country. And it depends on if we freeze up real fast or if our wetlands will stay open. Sometimes they freeze and the waterfowl, especially ducks, will blow right through.
Yeah.
And then our wetlands open up and there's no ducks coming again.
Right.
So it just varies so much from Canada. The Canadians hoard them all, and then they send them right through, and we don't get to hunt them.
Well, again, for our Canadian listeners, come on, man.
Yeah. I know there's
Share a little
very
bit.
little help. We don't send much north to Canada
Right.
until in the spring where they're not hunted.
Mhm. Well, this is going to be an interesting time. We'll have to check back with you on that and just see how it all shakes out. Let's talk about your check stations in the area. Where are the check stations at, and is there any specific information that you guys are really looking for that hunters could help you with in getting you that info you're looking for?
Yeah, we have just one permanent check station in the region, which is at Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
The Augusta check station, that's been there forever. It's like a landmark there,
Yeah.
in the community. And the same questions you check in when you hunt the south front, and then you check out. We're aging critters, we're weighing critters, and we have a lot of historical data there. And then we take chronic waste and disease samples there too.
Okay.
You may see other check station signs in the region as well as across the state for chronic waste and disease. We have those check stations, probably 5 or 6 different places in the region, from Grass Range up to Shelby, here in Great Falls, Augusta, Sun River on the highway. And that moves around the region each year. But as far as a biological check station, that's the only check station we have is Augusta.
Okay.
Yep.
Speaking of the testing for CWD, I got into an interesting conversation last Friday where some of my buddies said, I would never eat a deer or really any ungulate, with the exception of antelope, without testing it. I mean, what is your thoughts there? Do you feel that it is that important that you just must get it checked all the time, or what are your thoughts?
Well, if I always tell hunters, if you looked up, you can do it on Google now, but we have books, if you look at diseases of wildlife and then you look the diseases of white-tailed deer, for example, and it's 25 pages long. If you read that, you'd never want to eat a white-tailed deer ever again. Even though none of those potentially can affect you,
right,
as a human.
But overall, it's statewide. It's only like 3%, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
for chronic wasting disease, and it's not known to transmit to humans.
Right.
It has a relative, but yeah, if you are, we always tell people if it's a sick-looking animal, you don't have to eat it, obviously, anyway. If you test it for chronic wasting disease and it comes back positive, you don't have to eat that animal. You can get a new license. It's totally up to the individual. And it's contrary to what we put in our bodies from a gas station junk food. Compared with deer, I really think you're okay with eating a wild animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely, if you're ever in question,
is, God, I think Little Debbie's done more harm to me than, than any wild animal has.
Yep. Yep. So, but definitely, if you wanted to get an animal, and that's the other thing, though, we don't test an animal for everything. It's hard to test them. Sometimes an animal has to be dead to take the sample, and you just can't show up in Bozeman at our lab and say, "Here, test my deer for everything known to man before I eat it." It's just can't do that.
Well, read up on it, folks, and I don't know. It is a personal thing, and that. And,
personal preference,
but
definitely when handling an animal, the biggest thing folks need to be cognizant of is when you're field dressing your animal, wearing rubber gloves and washing your tools, and your knives and stuff. Some folks, they might worry about getting their animal tested, but they just field dress their deer with no gloves on. So there's things you can get from the blood of an animal as well too.
Yeah. Well, and that makes a lot of sense. And just to me, I think it's a good idea every year for everyone to just kind of go over those basics, because sometimes we get into some bad habits, whether it's cleaning fish the wrong way or all kinds of things. So yeah, just brush up on it now and then. I think it's a good idea. What about challenges for Region 4? What would you say is maybe the biggest challenge, or one or two that you feel Region 4 is facing right now? And if there is any, what can us hunters do to help you with it?
Sure. I can't say that we don't have challenges, but everything's going perfect, right?
Right.
But probably one of them the same as last year's. For us, work duties is, we have 5 grizzly bear specialists and technicians in our region now. Actually, let's see, 2. We have 6 now. So in 10 years ago, we had 2. So grizzly bear expansion, and just as far as workload in the region, that's taken a lot of time for expanding grizzly bear populations, responses to communities and landowners and ag producers for that. Preventative, electric fencing on some of these sites for helping out landowners. And then education events and all that. So our grizzly bear folks have really had to step up especially the last 10 years, 20 years, as things have expanded. And that brings new challenges to landowners as you move out east. You start talking, we're doing education events in Havre, Zortman, Lewistown, and you wouldn't think of that 10 years ago, Denton.
Mhm.
So that brings challenges for producers.
And that's sucking
I
up a
think
lot of your resources then too.
just for regional staff, yeah. We try to ship as many to Region 6 as we can. Just keep sending them east, but they're going on their own. We don't have to ship anything. We don't move bears, but it's amazing how much they travel.
Yeah,
The bears just
you
expanding in the
find a
spring.
grizzly bear, you give them a little map of Region 6, kinda show
Right.
them, where they might wanna head to.
Yeah, 15 miles a day, overnight they're going 15 miles just in the spring wandering.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's obviously criticisms that we're moving bears, but we don't move bears. They do it on their own, right?
Mhm.
So that's taking a lot of time, and challenging for hunters and learning, how to take care. You mentioned hunting in the region and being prepared
Right.
is huge, whether it's hunting in a mountain country or the breaks with snakes or weather or bears, and doing your research about how to field dress an animal, uh different means of doing that nowadays, how to secure your meat and your harvests away from the site if you're making multiple trips. It's challenging for hunters too.
Yeah.
And I think oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I think, as far as, like, one of the things I've heard from a few hunters is, they're seeing more grizzly bears even if it's, from afar, and then they go, "Oh, yeah, my bear spray, and it's in the bottom of their backpack or
Right.
whatever, and that
Right.
is not gonna do you any good." So,
Right.
again, that's kinda back to that little checklist of maybe, thinking it through and going through the basics again, because if you're gonna hunt in Montana, that needs to be on your belt, and you need to know how to use it,
Yep, it
period.
works good on lions too, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and even, I mean, you talk to hunters who have never, and even my coworkers have never had a problem with a grizzly bear,
Mhm.
but really it's black bears. And a mother sow with a cub can do as much damage as a black bear or a grizzly bear, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, and then I think another challenge is probably the continued access, maintaining access opportunities that we have. As landowners change hands, the traditional landowners, and now their kids are taking over and maybe think a little differently and want to do things differently. Non-traditional, if you want to call them non-traditional landowners that maybe have moved into Montana the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
That's been tough. Um, and especially managing elk populations, that's been real challenging. Those cows and elk figure out sanctuaries really fast. And unless landowners work together, they can really
Yeah.
exploding elk populations. So that's been really challenging, and I think, to see an elk some places was an anomaly about 20 years ago, and now it's just common to see elk, you know. Um, so that's brought a lot of challenges for folks to try to manage populations.
Mhm.
So,
Well, it's a never ending, one thing that we can always depend on is that things are gonna change, and so we
yep,
gotta roll with those punches, and sometimes, getting a lot of new people moving in, they're not aware of some of these things, and
yeah. I
it's
think
something we all gotta
probably
kinda
one
try
of
to
the
work together.
Probably one of the a third challenge I mentioned is like you mentioned mule deer earlier. And if you interview 100 people what they want for mule deer or deer hunting opportunities, it's probably all over the board.
Mhm.
Some are no hunting in the rut, some are hunting in the rut. There's even legislation that said one of each, this last session.
Hmm.
And, short seasons, long seasons. That's really a challenge for what's doing best for the resource for long term versus what people want. And it brings like this to hunters. I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, we got to get hunters and us and everybody working together to do what's best for mule deer or whatever species it is. And that's really challenging. Getting folks to show up to the meetings, and really help voice an opinion and go through our processes to really help each other out long term.
Yeah,
That's been a challenge.
that's one thing I really bring up a lot, and, I've even gotten some emails from people saying, "Come on, you bring it up all the time," but I can't stress it enough. You really gotta start, responding to when FWP and the commission are looking for input. You got to give that input because, and again, I'm not knocking people that have moved here from other states. I mean, that happens, and welcome to Montana. We got plenty of room. But one thing I know about, especially people moving from states that are a little more crowded, they're used to responding. And whether it's even hunting or just anything in life in general, it's whoever makes the most noise gets their way. And we're kind of used to being a little more laid back on it. Well, we have got to start responding, all of us, because if you don't, the commission's going to start getting these kind of lopsided views of what the public wants. So I really try to stress that, because a lot of these folks that are moving in, they've been educated. That's how you get your way. You organize, get everybody together, and you say, this is what I want, and so we better be doing this. All of us should be doing the same, because that'll give the you guys and the commission a balance really of what most hunters want to see.
Right. Yeah. I think, hunters also, you'll never hear a hunter say there's too many deer or there's too many elk, really, to be honest with you. But for us, another challenge is almost all these critters spend time on private land for us, especially in region 6 and 7, and a lot of the state, especially winter range. And so we want to have tons of mule deer, but the landowner also has a voice in that too.
Sure.
And so, the tolerance of both, and one guy wants trophy bucks and the other one doesn't care. And so which one do we want? I think if Mother Nature works with everybody and produces plenty of deer, everybody will be happy.
Yeah.
And hopefully in 10 years, we're not talking about
it. Well, the old thing is, the more we talk, the better we all get along. So that's my thing. So keep on talking. What about, and you guys have a lot to be proud of in Region 4, but what are some of the things that you're most proud of about your region?
Well, I think I mentioned last time the crew we have. We have a big, actually, probably one of the biggest crews in the state, just because we have
so much stuff.
6 grizzly bears, wolf specialists, and they all do a great job. Wildlife used to supervise access and the maintenance crew as well, and that's been separated now, so it's taken a lot of time away, which has been great. But we still work hand in hand with the access program and our maintenance crew, especially for our WMAs. We have 6 biologists in the state here, in our region. Most of them have been around a long time now. We're real independent, really good landowner relations. A new biologist in Stanford, which has helped out the Stanford and Geyser community. That's a new position we got probably 3 years ago. One of our old biologists just retired, in Conrad, Ryan Rauscher. Kudos to him for 30 years.
Wow.
Retired. So his position's open. We have a really good wildlife technician here in Great Falls who's a jack of all trades for us, and he's in school right now at MSU working on the Bighorn Sheep project. We have an upland game bird specialist, Matt Straw. He does a great job. Came from the Midwest, Illinois, but he's White Sulphur country, ranching, farming communities, and in Chester. So we got him on board. And Esther is our habitat specialist, our habitat leasing program, which is pretty new to the department, and she's doing a great job in Lewistown. So really, we have a great crew, and I think, we all consider ourselves family. I think we all trust each other and work good with other divisions in the state, or in our region and in the state. But probably the biggest thing is our conservation easement program. We've added on to our easements, perpetual easements for habitat in the region. We now have quite a few of those. Still trying to push those through as much as we can.
Locking up some of that access. That's excellent.
The leasing program's a new program, gives landowners a new option of 30-year and 40-year leases, and that's helped to secure some habitat and access. So it's worked well, because our maintenance program, I helped hire that position when he came on, and then our upland game bird position moved to access, and I hired him. So we all are connected in all our programs really well, and we all hunt and fish and recreate and So it works well. Yep.
Yeah, well, and I think sometimes people forget that, the wildlife managers and biologists and all that, they're hunters too.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
speaking of that, what's your favorite thing to hunt in Region 4?
I mentioned last year antelope.
Yep.
It's I didn't get out for myself that much this year, just because I tried to help my daughter. She drew an antelope. She's 12.
Oh,
So first year
First year
antelope
doing it,
hunting, and tried with a bow quite a bit for her this year. Didn't quite get one connected,
that's
but
tough.
she did
Antelope
harvest
with
the
a
doe.
bow, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, she did harvest the doe last week with a rifle, so that's fun. She's my wife got into that archery antelope 10 years ago, and so now daughter's taking that on. But I just love my stepdaughter has an antelope license too for a doe fawn. So we'll have a girls' day here one of these days going out. But I just love antelope hunting. Yeah, I grew up doing it in Western Nebraska and Wyoming and here, and just
They're an interesting critter, aren't they?
It's getting pretty popular though anymore for archery antelope. But yeah, it's elk hunting. Obviously, love archery elk. I love archery hunting, everything, but archery elk is always fun. Getting a little more challenging. I feel like I'm getting too old now, or older. Almost 50, so it's
wait till you get my age, and you're really you're gonna really feel it then.
Right. No, I hunt pretty much everything. Trap a little bit, fish a lot, try to fish a lot. So yeah, it's upland bird hunting. Really got back into that. I've always upland bird hunted, but lost my short hair a few years ago, so I got a new short hair 2 years ago.
Nice.
So it's like raising another kid. So try to get her hair out and burn some energy, and do a lot of bird hunting too.
Well, great. Anything that we haven't covered yet, Corey, that you wanted to get across before I let you go?
No, not much. I think it's real similar to last year. Things are still pretty good. Had a good winter this last year. So things are set up pretty good. Just follow, I'd say, to folks who are listening, it is a season setting year for 26 and 27, and there are some proposals that may be coming out, and definitely come to the meetings or voice your opinions. And it's challenging because you're setting seasons for next year before this season even happens.
Right. Yeah. And we always try to do that on the podcast, remind people about that, you need to get your input on that stuff. So we'll be sure and do that. Let us know how that goes, and if there's anything we need to kind of help push along to remind people to get out there and respond, because that's a big deal. Because once that's set, that's 2 years that it's set.
Yep.
So
and definitely be bear aware. I mean, people get tired of seeing the bear advertising, but definitely come prepared for weather and potential bears no matter where you go. Right
on. All right, my man. Well, thank you. And there you have it, folks. And Corey, I really do appreciate you taking the time. I know this is a busy time of the year, so thanks.
No problem. Nope. Maybe see you on the trail or on the lake somewhere.
Yeah, I'll be out there, especially on the lake trail. I'm a little slower nowadays, but I get there now and then. But anyway, folks, that'll do it for Region 4. Hope you liked it. Of course, check the podcast description. You've got all that information there. So click those links, and then you'll have a link for Corey in there. If you want to ask him a question, just click on it, and it'll automatically set up an email for you. So we got all that. In the meantime, then, let us know how we did, what else you'd like to know, and we'll have more coming down. In fact, we've covered everything. We just got Region 7 yet to go, and hopefully that'll be getting done here real soon. So until then, folks, be safe out there, be good to each other, and we'll see you next time on the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Thanks for watching the Montana Outdoor Podcast. There's no way we could do this podcast without the incredible support of sponsors like Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock, high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss snowplows and accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. go see them on the web at rmtte.com. We'd love to hear what you thought of this week's podcast. When you get a minute or two, shoot us an email and tell us your thoughts. Same goes if you have any questions for Rigger or this week's guest. Just send your questions or comments to downrigger@montanooutdoor.com. Hey, don't forget we should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, gang, we hope to see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.